can't hear.
Yep, that talks right into
Good. Can you hear me? Tom, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Good morning. Good to see you.
Morning, man.
Okay.
Hey, Brett, I went to your old house the other day and met with whatever that
Kevin
guy is.
Cookingham.
Yeah. Yeah. He seems pretty decent.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
We are live, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. This meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors is now called into order, and we're going to begin with closed session. But first, do we have any additions to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chairman, no additions. Would you like to do a roll call as well?
Yes, please.
Okay. Supervisor Wheeler,
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras,
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier,
Here.
Supervisor Rogers.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. County Council, would you read the closed session in the agenda?
Yes, Chairman, good morning. There are 3 items on your closed session today. The first is conference with your labor negotiator. Your agency designated representative is Director Gomez. That's under Government Code Section 54957.6, and the employee organization is all units. Under Government Code Section 54957, you have a public employee performance evaluation of your county administrative officer, bless you. And under Government Code Section 54956.9, you have conference with your legal counsel for anticipated litigation, significant threat of exposure to litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 or 3 of subdivision D of Section 54956.9. Thank you.
Okay. With that, any comment from the public on closed session? Anybody, internet or anything like that?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, there's no public coming forward. I will close the public comment, and we will go back to closed session.
Ron, it's the same link, correct?
Is it the same
I
link?
think
Rhonda?
so. What they did last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same link, Rhonda? They're asking about the link for the closed session.
Yes, I'll close out this meeting and I'll run into the back room and we'll open up that link. It's the same link
Thank you.
for you, though.
Thank you.
So we got to go off?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okay.
Okay.
I went over there one day and to tell them about that, and there was a lot, but there was cars there parked. So are we gonna have a meeting soon?
Yes.
Okay, Tom, I see you. And I see
Good.
Brett, so give us a few minutes to get going. Hey. Hi, Maria. Is that you that we have in here as caller user two, or is that
Yes.
Eric? Okay. We haven't started the meeting yet, so I'm going to mute you until we get to public comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm happy. See you, buddy. Are we ready?
Yes, we are ready.
Okay, we're back from closed session. County Council, do we have anything to report from closed session?
Chairman, there are no reportable actions from the morning closed session.
Somebody needs to mute their device from remote. Thank you. Let's do something's going on here. Let's do a roll call of the supervisors, please.
Yes, roll call. Supervisor Wheeler,
Here.
Supervisor Rodriguez,
Here.
Supervisor Poitras,
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier,
Here.
and Supervisor Rogers.
Here.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Okay, so the first item on the agenda this morning is to open and close in memory of, and the first person that we have on our list is a good friend to all of us, Bill Chiat. Bill Chiat was the member of CSAC. He was the founder and director of the Supervisors Institute. When I became a supervisor 11 years ago, the first person I had contact with in regards to training was Bill Chiat. I attended a number of Bill's classes and found him to be tremendously informative and very helpful, able to groom supervisors in the art of being a supervisor in a very important task. Not only that, Bill was our facilitator for the last 5 years for the goal setting for this county. An amazing facilitator, and he used very critical and unique techniques to draw out information from various parties and got everybody involved. And just, I think of his, all the papers he would write on and paste them all over the room, and we'd have all the various goals that we could look at visually and digest those from each group that had input, and it made it very cohesive. Bill was a consensus builder. He was a very, very good guy, and we're all going to miss him. Anybody else have anything to add to?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, what was amazing about Bill is because he was the face for all supervisors that are coming in, brand new ones, and I know multiple times we've told him that he really was part of the Madera County team, and you felt like he had the best interest of Madera County and its residents in his heart when he was here. But when you think about it, he was that to so many other counties and so many other people. He's leaving behind a very, very strong legacy of leadership and bringing people along, and he did really well maintaining politicians' egos, which sometimes get in the way, and he did it masterfully and was able to get everyone to be able to talk to each other, to listen to each other, and to actually hear each other and see what we were saying. And to be able to sift through that in a very cynical world was a very special gift and talent that he had. I know, it didn't just stop at the Supervisor Institute. It didn't just stop at our workshops. There were times when I didn't know, what to do on a situation or what, just needed some help. And he would always take the call and give great advice. He was just a wonderful person through and through, and we're going to miss him as a county family, but I'm going to miss him personally as a confidant and someone who I could lean on in times that I needed an unbiased ear to just listen and help work through some things. And he was a great man. So
Yes, you will.
Thoughts go out to his husband and the whole CSAC family and all of us.
Yes, yes. I spent a couple hours a year with Bill on the phone, so I know what you're talking about. That listening ear, and he'd often just guide you to your own conclusion, which is
Mhm.
really, that's a neat thing.
Yeah, Dave,
Yeah,
this is Tom. Yeah, I was shocked when you guys got a hold of me and said he had passed away Saturday. You meant so much to the county. And I've changed my picture, my background. You can see those sun rays shining down. That's him looking down at Madera County saying, I did help you guys. And he did. I mean, like you and Brett both said, I've called him times when I just needed a little advice, and he's called me when I was chairman of stuff to get, just different stuff. And he was such a great facilitator. I mean, we could be yelling at each other, and he'd make you feel like you're your brother, just like that quick. And
Yeah.
yep.
he was just
Yep.
super.
Yeah, he was a great
Gonna
man.
miss him.
We will miss him very much, and truly dedicate to his memory this last 5 years, especially of county success in enormous ways. The goal setting, the achievements that have come from that. He can truly be exemplified as a great facilitator in that regard. Anyone else?
You know, I'll just reinforce what you guys said. I talked to him a lot of times, and he was a gentleman,
Yes, he
and
was.
he'd just listen to you, and he answered the best with a straight face. He'd tell you what he thought. At our times up there, at our meetings that we had with him up there by Bass Lake, he was very, very good. He'd listen to us, and then he'd kind of have input in different situations. And I think he was very helpful. What you guys have mentioned about him, it's all true. And like Tom, I was shocked when I heard that he had passed away because he looked awful healthy to me.
Yeah, he was a ball of energy, really, and just kind of a shock for all of us. Anyone else? Okay.
I think we should all have a glass of Australian wine tonight. That was,
Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's right.
he had all the Australian.
I don't
yeah.
drink.
And then are we going to like to open also in memory of Joan Hawley?
Yes,
Yes.
he was the next one on my list.
Oh, perfect.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Councilman Donald Hawley's wife, who, she always had a smile, a big hug, and kept Donald in line, which was a hard task to do. And she'll be dearly missed by the community and Donald, and just my heart goes out to him. And I know that when I talked to him on Saturday, he had said, she's not suffering anymore, and that's a good place to be. So she's in a much better place.
Yeah, our heart goes out to Don. Been a great friend through the years, Donald. Anyone else? Okay. With that, we're going to have the invocation by Pastor Dave Haas of the Well Community Church in Madera, and then after the invocation, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Supervisor Poitras, would you lead us in?
All right. Good morning. It is so good to be with you this morning. Thanks for having me. Let's pray. Lord, we know this is a time that is both exciting and exhausting to be a servant of the people. And so I look across at this room and I see so many people who I know pour their hearts out for the county of Madera and beyond. And so I thank you for these men and these women in the room who I imagine are exhausted, are tired, and yet ever ready to serve and to help our community, our county, our people know how to respond and react in the ever-changing times. And so, Lord, I just specifically want to pray this morning for the men and the women in this room for rest, a little quick rest where they can find it. You promise us that that you will keep the one in perfect peace who trusts in you because you're the rock. You're the unchanging, eternal rock. And so in the middle of a lot of change, a lot of transition constantly, being just ever ready, may we trust in you, the eternal, unchanging rock. And so, Lord, I pray for these men and these women. I pray for rest. I pray for renewed energy. And I pray for just vision to see what's next, a vision to be able to pull people along into what feels like a new world, but a world that, Lord, we know that you have waiting. And so, Lord, we thank you so much for who you are, that we can trust you with every single day we wake up, and you're the same, you're unchanging, you're eternal. So we put our hope, our trust, our confidence in you. So, Lord, once again, I just ask for renewed energy for my friends in this room. We love you. We trust you. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Public comment.
Give me just 1 second. Public comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session are set aside for members of the public to address the board on any matter under the jurisdiction of the board but not appearing on the agenda. The board will not take action on any items presented under public comment. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium and state their name and county of the residence for the record. Mr. Chairman, we do have a public comment that is WebExing in.
Okay.
Maria, would you like to give your public comment? You have 3 minutes.
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I know I've been in front of you guys before a couple times, so I was just checking in. I've kind of waited out and seen everything going on with Avenue 12 and all the surrounding areas. And the last CHP report that I've gotten, because I do try to keep track and stuff, is the numbers are fluctuating. So the average was about 68 accidents a year out on Avenue 12. And right now they're at that number and the year's not over yet. And the CHP is going to break it down and give me some more, but he just emailed me this morning. He didn't have everything quite ready. So, I mean, I can give you guys the more definite answers next week, but they're going up. So the end of the year is in January and you guys are already hitting that number. So he said they are rising. It looks like around 2% or more out here. So I know the last time I spoke with you guys after my car accident that you were looking at doing rumple strips or something in the middle of the roads. You were talking about looking into areas because you do have to follow the guidelines and the rules and the laws as far as where accidents occur the most to put a stop sign or stop lights. And I'm just wondering where we are or what you guys are doing, because it's been 2.5 years. In the spot where my car accident's at, there's been 3 accidents at that spot already again. And so it's definitely, you know, and then with the adding of the construction at the end of 41, and now you guys are looking at building on all of the what do you call it? I can't even think right now. Not the housing, but all of the new area that's going in over there. I know they had put up some strips coming out of the housing area because that was so bad. There's another area where the 2 lanes go into 1 lane. It's right at a turn lane into the river, into those housings. And there's accidents right there because somebody stops to put their blinker on to turn left, and everybody in that lane either puts on their brake or goes to the right to try to go around them, and then the cars just slam into that car. So I just want to know that this is still on your guys' radar before, you know, someone dies or something. You know, this is very passionate to me. You know, you're not gonna, I know silence. I haven't been on here for a while. It's really hard to get to your meetings when I'm working all school year. So I kind of like being able to do this. This would be great to offer this throughout the year if everything goes back to normal. but I just want to know, what do you guys have on the radar, or the guideline? Like, is there anything being done out here? It's getting worse. And even on 15 and 36, they have a stop sign. They need stoplights. That road is just getting bad. And when you guys open up 15, it's gonna get bad.
Okay.
We come to you guys because you guys are the ones that are, we need your help. Like, it's you guys who make these decisions, but you're making the decisions to add construction and to add all these new things that are bringing in stuff, but you're not helping the people in the streets. You're packing sardines into a little space. And
Your time has expired, but
Okay.
if you could wind it down.
all right, no, I that's it. I mean, I just wanted to put that out there. I mean, I know Mr. Frazier lives out here, so I'm sure he sees it every day too. But the way that my accident happened, it doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
That white line on the side of the road is not helping. People try to go around or pass. It's going to get worse.
Okay, thank you for your comment. And of course, we can't comment on public comments, but I'm sure you'll hear from our staff, and one's nodding his head right here that's in charge of that. So you'll hear from them at a later date when they can contact you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, any other public comments? Okay, we have one is it on an item though? An email?
Oh, that's for 6I, Chairman.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, we're going to go to the consent calendar. And we need to pull item F for separate discussion.
F and P.
F and P, yes, thank you.
So we do have the proclamation, and then we also have a PowerPoint presentation by our treasurer tax collector.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take the balance of the consent calendar, then we'll do the presentation, and then we'll do the proclamation and finish it out.
So
Well,
I don't think
what we could do, Dave, is go ahead and talk about the thing and then approve it all, and then we can do the F and P, afterwards. If you want to do them before or after.
Yeah, that's what I plan on doing.
Okay.
That's what I was saying.
Perfect.
Okay, so let's take the balance of the consent calendar. Any comments or questions?
I got a couple.
Okay, go ahead.
On G, that district attorney's car. I was just wondering what kind of car it is. Is it a clean air car, electric car? I see it's got they got 22,000 in grant, and I just wonder if that's from the air board that we got those dollars from the air board too. So
Hey, Sally's here to answer that.
Good morning.
okay, great.
Yeah, so the vehicle that we purchased is a minivan. The funds come from a VOCA grant, Victims of Crime Act grant. So there's no net county cost. The reason we went with a minivan is because oftentimes this is a vehicle that will be used to facilitate getting victims to court if and when they don't have appropriate transportation. Sometimes they have children and families, and they'll have support people with them. So we were looking to maximize the occupancy of the vehicle. So that's why we chose a minivan. And we did give our advocate the option of a racing stripe, but she chose against putting a racing stripe on her minivan.
Oh, how about is it a clean air car? Is it you got to put bars in there to keep it away from the driver, or what?
I don't understand the question about bars.
Well, are they convicts or are they?
No. It'll be
No, this
victims,
is victims
of crime, and their support people and their children. So,
Oh, victims. Oh, I see. I missed that somewhere along the way.
right, it's a Victims of Crime Act grant. So occasionally we'll have a person who can't get a ride to court to testify because they have a transportation issue. And that's where our victim advocate can go out to them, get them in the vehicle. We've also are planning to purchase some car seats for a variety of ages because oftentimes these victims will have their
Right.
children with them without appropriate child care. So I don't know if it's a clean air vehicle. I do know that we went with the most economical choice, and we got bids from local dealers here in Madera. So we are buying it from a local Madera dealer, and we got the best
Good.
negotiated price we could for the county.
Great. Okay. Well, I just, always look about those clean air stuff, and we do have money for those kind of vehicles too. And I advertised it last year, for the sheriff and the fire, and I know the sheriff bought 5 cars from using those dollars. So if you need more, just reach out there to the Air Board too. So thank you.
We absolutely will, and thank you. My hope is that as it's going to be a 2020 vehicle, it'll absolutely meet our, at least our higher emission standards these days, and obviously will help maintain our environment in a positive
Right.
way.
Next question.
And then item K, that's just a major F up, I tell you, because we had actually made a deal with them, with Dan Gamble, to drill that well on there for the North Fork District MD8. And we drilled the well, and then we let that lease run out. It was going to be like $35,000. Now here we are doing this, close to $100,000 costing us. So we really screwed up on that one. I won't mention no names. In item N, it's just, this is because all the money that we got from the LATM from the county, from the state, when we voted, if you remember, about 3 years ago, to match that $25,000 for that $4 million. 25%, I mean, we actually, it was $250,000 we voted to support, which we actually got back from the state, and we've done that. This is some of the monies that's left over that they didn't, other counties didn't use. So we're going to get about $125,000, and we got a match, but we have that money, and we bill the state, and they give it back to us. So it's going to get rid of about 1,200 more trees that's come back and dead. So thank you, Sheriff Tyson, and probably I can't think of his name right now, for doing this and keeping on top of it. And there might be more money again after this is over, because some of the counties, I guess, are not going to use it either. And then also on item O, I just like to really brag about that. That 4-lane bridge going over San Joaquin River and Bryant. There'll be pedestrian crossing, back lanes, and the whole works. And with that new development right there, North Shore, this is going to be a big help for that. So, and help for us too. So it's a great deal. And I think that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any questions from the rest of the supervisors?
Mr.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
When Tom was asking about the 206, is the old bridge going to be removed when they build a new one?
Yes.
Yeah, Brett's been on top of this. He's been on that committee, so.
Yeah, and there is money within the San Joaquin River Conservancy to be able to remove that bridge during the construction. One? Yeah, the old one. But I think, when you look at this project also, working together with Fresno County on it, I think it shows the importance of, that we need to do that. Whereas there is no old bridge on the Fresno County side right now because they got it taken out. We should have done that work together years ago. But there is money available through the San Joaquin River Conservancy to remove that old bridge so that it's not just a place for people to go and learn how to do graffiti, because that's kind of what it is right now. Pretty big eyesore. So that will be taken out next. Great.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Brett, for being on top of that. That's really been good working together with them to do that. So,
any questions from the public on this consent calendar? Okay, the motion maker needs to, as we bring it back, to remove items F and P.
Well, I thought, Dave, if I make the motion to approve them all, then we can agree to pull them. I'll make a motion to approve it all, consent calendar, pulling F and P, but going ahead and approve it, and then doing the details afterwards.
Second.
Okay. Motion made and second. Let's vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay. Item P. We have a presentation on item P.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Anthony Loza, Assistant Treasurer Tax Collector. And this morning on the agenda, we have an item related to our annual distribution of excess proceeds for our tax sale that we bring to your board every year. And so today we wanted to give your board just a brief background on our tax sale timeline and the distribution of excess proceeds and how that process kind of works. So in July of every year, we record a power to sell, which is recorded on properties that are 5 or more years delinquent. And in December, your board approves a tax sale and minimum bids based on taxes due and the proportionate cost of the tax sale. Between July and April, we do our final due diligence and noticing requirements. And in May of every year, the tax sale is conducted online via bidforassets.com. And then in June, our tax deeds are recorded, and between July and August, proceeds from the sale are applied to the delinquent parcels, and the amount of excess proceeds per parcel are determined. So as you can see, our tax sale spans for about a year, and then when you consider the distribution of excess proceeds, it's about 2 years. So the excess proceeds actually are a result of once a property has sold. If there's an amount that's left over in excess of $150 after all property taxes are paid, all costs and all fees, and our reimbursement to administer the sale, it's whatever's left over after that. So the tax collector is required to give all parties of interest a notification and claim form, or must publish the listing and instructions on how to file for the excess proceeds. So you'll be happy to know that here in Madera, we actually do both. So parties of interest have 1 year from the date the deed is recorded to file a claim. So this past year, the tax collector's office has made it easier for parties of interest to file a claim by making the claim form and instructions available online. This past year, our office also drafted a policy, which is also available online, to ensure consistency and transparency in the process. So our website actually provides really great resources. Like I mentioned, you can pull up a copy of our excess proceeds report. Pull up a copy of our excess proceeds report, claim form, instructions, and obviously a copy of our policy. So with that being said, 1 year after the deed is recorded on a tax sale property, the tax collector reviews each claim to determine the validity. We verify that the claim is submitted timely and in accordance with our policy, as well as with the Revenue and Taxation Code. And then we determine the distribution of the funds as set by the Revenue and Taxation Code. So once that's complete, the tax collector submits a recommendation to county council, and we work with them. And once we're all in agreement, our office submits a request to disperse the funds to your board, which is why we're here today. So today, before your board, we have a request to approve the first group of excess proceeds. And these are the claims that we received that didn't require any additional follow-up. I believe we have a few properties here today. I believe there's 4 that we're going to be distributing, and we'll be back to your board next month with the second group. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Any questions? No questions, and it's already been passed, so no problem.
All right. Thank you guys for your time.
Well, Chair, since the motion was to pull the items, I would recommend that you still take a motion on these since they were formally pulled.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Second. Motion is made and second. Let's vote.
Sorry, who made the motion? Thank you. Call for the vote. Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Item F, go ahead and read the proclamation.
Okay, Madera Community College 116th campus. Whereas the State Center Community College District includes Fresno City College, Reedley, Clovis, Madera, Oakhurst, and the Career and Technology Center. The State Center Community College District serves approximately 1.7 million people across more than 5,500 square miles, including most of Fresno, Madera counties, and parts of Kings and Tulare counties. State Center Community College District began offering classes at Madera High with 158 students enrolled in 19 evening classes in spring of 1985. The Madera Community College Center relocated to a portable building at James Madison Elementary School in summer of 1989. And whereas in November 1993, Chancellor Dr. Bill F. Stewart and Vice Chancellor of External Operations Dr. Tom Crow accepted a donation of 114 acres from 5 local landowners for the current campus. Those landowners included Logaloosa Farms, Pistoresi Farms, Inc., Richburg Properties, Inc., Mr. Roy Spomer, and Mr. Ted Takayashi. And in August 1996, the Madera Community College Center opened with one permanent multi-purpose building that holds a student bookstore, food services, student activity center, and a large instruction classroom. There were also 21 portable classrooms and computer labs. MCCC offered more than 220 classes and was serving more than 1,500. And whereas in August 2000, the Academic Administrative Permanent 26,000 square foot building opened with computer labs, administrative offices, faculty offices, distant learning classrooms, a 250-seat auditorium, and a computer-based library. A dedication ceremony was held October 24, 2017 to rename this building the Dr. Bill F. Stewart Administration. And whereas in January 2004, Academic Village 1 opened. This 50,000 square foot complex includes science, chemistry, and biology labs, a licensed vocational nursing skills lab, computer labs, art labs, general purpose classrooms, distance education classrooms, 150-seat assembly hall, and office space. And whereas the Center for Advanced Manufacturing opened in fall of 2009, offers maintenance and mechanic and welding programs. And whereas in 2019, Measure C passed with overwhelmingly support, bringing new and modernized buildings to all of the SCCCD colleges and centers. And whereas the Madera Community College campus serves more than 6,123 students. Whereas on July 20, 2020, the California Community Colleges Board of Governors will be voting to recognize Madera Community College as the 116th campus of the state communities college system. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors of Madera County does hereby proclaim July 21st, 2020 as a day of recognition for the Madera Community College Center as the 116th campus that will be funded and counted in the California Community College system.
Okay, Supervisor Poit.
Whoopee, whoopee, whoopee.
Present. This is a great day, a great happening. And our good friend, we can go down if you like, Max. Okay.
Did you want to take your photo op on the steps, Mr. Chairman? Would you like to take a photo op on the steps outside?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, a short 5-minute break? Okay, thank you.
Out up there.
Okay, Harry.
back up. Tom and Brett still there? Okay.
I'm here.
Good, good. Okay, consent calendar is done. Let's go to public session, item 6A.
6A, Community and Economic Development Department, Planning Division, Gunner Ranch West. 1, discussion consideration to adopt a resolution of the County of Madera to establish a public financing authority for the proposed Gunner Ranch West Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District. 2, discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution of the County of Madera declaring its intention to establish the Gunner Ranch West Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
There we go.
I thought I had it muted again.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Thank you. Jamie Bax, Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division. So before you is the creation of a new enhanced infrastructure financing district. We have 2 resolutions before you. The first is to establish the Public Financing Authority. We had a vacancy notice posted as per the government code for 20 days prior to this meeting, and the Public Financing Authority would consist of 3 members of this board, which would be the supervisor of record, the chairman and the vice chairman, and the 2 public members would be Mr. Devinder Mahill and Mr. Jim Talbert, as with the previous. We also have a resolution to form the district, and the boundaries of the district are consistent with the Gunner Ranch West specific plan. And in the future, the Public Financing Authority will meet on its own and give direction to staff to prepare an infrastructure financing plan. So with that, I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? If not, any questions or comments from the public?
Motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Move to approve. Second.
Second, and let's vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier? Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Item 6B.
6B, County Administration Department, discussion and direction to staff on the proposed expenditure plan for Madera County's Coronavirus Relief Fund allocation.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Joel Begay, County Administrative Office. Just wait a minute for the PowerPoint to come up. Just a little background. On March 27, 2020, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act became law, otherwise known as the CARES Act. It's intended to provide relief to individuals and businesses that are experiencing the economic impacts of COVID-19. It is also to provide assistance to state and local tribal governments, specifically for pandemic response, but also to help essential government services to continue to function in a safe and prudent manner. CARES Act, for that purpose, the CARES Act created the Coronavirus Relief Fund, and Congress allocated $150 billion to that fund. Direct federal allocations were provided to states as well as to cities and counties with populations of more than 500,000. And on June 29, the state of California announced that it would disburse a portion of its CRF allocation, Coronavirus Relief Fund allocation, to cities and counties that did not receive a direct federal allocation. The Madera County CRF allocation that it will be receiving from the state is $16.1 million. Some key dates and requirements from the state. The state is reiterating, your board ratified certification letters that we would adhere to both federal guidance and state stay-at-home orders and any gubernatorial executive orders that will be forthcoming related to COVID-19. On September 1st, there will also be a report that will be due to the state, both for actual expenditures and planned expenditures to describe and also to describe efforts that the county will be making or is making to coordinate and collaborate with the regional partners in order to avoid duplication efforts. The intent of the state is that any unused funds or unplanned use, funds that are not planned to be used, should be returned to the state by October 30th. There is a record retention requirement, and at this point, we believe it's 5 years, which is consistent with a single audit. So staff is proposing CRF to be allocated in 3 major categories. The first would be the pandemic response activities, and staff is recommending allocating $9,875,000 to these activities. What this category represents are the county's costs related to the emergency response and the pandemic response, and could include, but are not limited to, the costs associated with contact tracing, testing, providing public information, and other public health and public safety functions. It could also be provided as grants to pandemic response partners, but the pandemic partners that do not receive any other CARES Act funding allocations. The second category that staff's recommending is an allocation of $5 million of the funds to what we call community assistance, which is further broken down into 3 categories. The first and the largest is $3.8 million for providing grants to small businesses within the county, regardless of whether they are in the city limits or not, and to provide those grants to small businesses with employees of 50 or less. And they must have been impacted by, the conditions must be that they've been impacted revenue-wise by the impacts of COVID-19, and they must not have also received any other benefits through the CARES Act, such as the Paycheck Protection Program or any other small business loans that are funded through the CARES Act. The county staff is recommending to coordinate with the Madera County Economic Development Commission and both the City of Madera and City of Chowchilla to make this funding available countywide. And staff is also recommended to prioritize businesses in the most hardest hits of sectors currently labeled as hospitality, food service, manufacturing, and retail. The second subcategory that staff is recommending is just over $1 million to provide grants for low-income individuals to assist with rent, to provide assistance for rent and utility payments. We are recommending to partner with a local agency in order to do that, but we will be coordinating disbursement of payments. And lastly, staff is recommending $150,000 for a food delivery program for seniors that previously benefited from the Congregate Meals program. As most of you are aware, the Congregate Meals program were ended at the onset of COVID-19, and this is a need that's largely been unmet to this point. The last category staff is recommending is $1.25 million for county essential government services. And what this represents are the costs necessary for the county to maintain essential services to the public, but in a safe and prudent manner to keep both the public and staff safe while services are continued. Some of the examples of the costs that could be funded through this category are the new containment protocols that have been implemented by the jail, workspace modifications to keep public and employees safe at public areas, the cost of providing PPEs and disinfecting supplies and services to all departments, and the costs associated with moving functions to a telework setting in order to promote social distancing and limit exposure to staff and public. Again, these broad categories that staff are recommending are summarized on this slide. I just want to focus on the second category on community assistance. We are recommending those be further divided into $3.8 million for small business assistance, $1 million for low-income individuals, assistance to low-income individuals, and then food for seniors that used to participate in the Congregate Meals Grant. We're also recommending that there be some flexibility to reallocate based on what we experience in the next few weeks in regards to the need. That concludes staff's presentation, and we're now available for any questions.
Any questions for Joel? Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you, Joel. I just have a couple of questions. Now, the 9.8 million, almost 10 million pandemic response activities, those are for maybe costs that have already been incurred and what's expected to be incurred. Is that?
Yes, Supervisor, we are going through the process of documenting and going through the guidance, but yes, the general answer is it's both for costs that have been incurred from March 1st through June 30th,
and what we project as the cost to be incurred from July 1st to December 30th. It's right now, I think, just based on the numbers might change. We feel that the past reimbursable expenses could be up to $4.1 million between the public health and public safety functions of the county.
Okay.
It's important to note that the federal government has clarified that it presumes public safety and public health employees are substantially dedicated to the COVID-19 efforts. So we are looking and taking that guidance and then applying it with our local sensibilities, interpreting it with local sensibilities. So.
Okay, very good. Second question I have is in regards to small business assistance and with the help of the EDC. Now, is there money available to help out the EDC with some administrative costs? Because right now, they run on a shoestring.
Right.
And Lois Leonard, she handles some of the small business loan CDBG programs and revolving fund. So if we have a whole bunch of businesses running in there, wanting to be able to get their hands on some of this money, then they're going to need some help. So, I mean, they're probably going to have to ramp up.
Right. So if the board approves the general allocation into these, the next steps really would be, as far as the community assistance, and we are already in initial conversations with the EDC since we've got a notification of the CRF distributions. What would be forthcoming for your board would likely be a contract or an MOU that defines that level of service. And the administrative cost is certainly allowable cost under CRF, and we are fully committed to offsetting those costs. One model that we are looking at is kind of like a joint effort. So while EDC will do the screening, marketing, and targeting the businesses, then it puts it together into a packet that goes into the county. And what we're proposing is to form a team that comprises of some internal audit staff from the auditor's office, some analyst staff support that we pull from other general fund departments to both review all of these and actually make the payments out of the county. That is a model that's being used by other entities, and that is because the businesses will be sub-recipients of the county, so there is a responsibility of the county to ensure through different layers of review. So we want to set up a process that we make sure that the criteria is met, but that is not so onerous that it's going to take forever to distribute the money. But we do need to make sure that the payments come out of the county payment system, because then that way there's somebody from the internal audit team that would be reviewing it.
Keep an eye on it, yeah.
Very good.
David?
And then the last question I have was in regards to the low-income assistance and so forth. Do we have any idea of what organization we might utilize to help us out? And is there like a criteria that we're going to be looking at?
So Supervisor Poitras, we kind of have a two-pronged approach there. I think we're going to work with CRLA on some of the low-income housing support-related needs, and with CAPMC on the more pressing needs that CAPMC already helps people with. We figured since CRLA deals more with rental assistance and those kind of things, they're already natural to work with, and CAPMC already works with so many other programs where they offer assistance in other areas where people who are affected by COVID may need it. So that's our tentative plan right now.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
David?
Yes, Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Good job there, Joe. I really want to make sure some of these businesses don't get double dollars. So, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of my notes that I had down. Also on 100, I just got an email yesterday from Maddie and from Gene Robertson, Executive Director of Agency of Aging, denying that they're not going to put any senior foods out for the rest of the year. So this is a welcome deal when you said that. We've been up here, our Rotary clubs up here in Oakhurst, there's two of them. They've been delivering food to a lot of these seniors up here, and a lot of them from the local restaurants and food that we've collected. Can we do any help with on that? And they've got a pretty good list of all the seniors around here that does need the thing, and I was just wondering about labor on that on getting food for these meals, or we're going to keep it going the way you've been doing over the years.
Right. Supervisor Wheeler, the one thing that's clear is that it can't be in a congregate setting. So,
No, we've been delivering to the houses.
Right, right. So this money would likely be used for like a homebound meals type setting. We are planning to work with CAPMC to set this up. Maddie did bring up this need even before the CRF allocations from the state was announced. And we're planning to work with CAPMC to set up a distribution program that would make the most sense. So I think there's more details that'll be forthcoming once we start officially engaging with CAPMC on a homebound meals program to address seniors that previously relied on the congregate meals program. Now, we did make sure that sufficient, this 150,000 should be sufficient. So we did look at what we
I want to make sure of that too, because there'll be some transportation costs.
Right.
Really haven't had when you're going house to house instead of just to, 5 or 6 different organizations. So
correct, Supervisor. So we did look at that. So we were spending anywhere from 60 to 70 in the congregate meals program. We scaled it up to account for transportation. And of course, we're only going to spend the actual cost to the extent that there more needed to be met. We request that we could come back to your board to request some reallocation. But we feel that
I want to keep that open because 150, it sounds like a lot, but when you go doing this all over our county, from Chowchilla, Madera, Fairmead, out in the boonies out on the west side, and all the way up in here are 7 different communities. It'll probably go pretty fast. So, because I know there's some people suffering that needs food, because every day I get at least one email, text, or something wanting to know when we're going to have another food giveaway. So there's people out here hurting big time.
Yes, Supervisor. We'll make sure we take those into account. One thing that the availability of the funding is through December 30th right now. The federal government has not extended it. So whatever we're costing is services through December 30th. We're hoping that they extend it, but at the moment we're working with December 30.
Our timeline, right? Okay, that sounds really good. That sounds like you guys really covered the bases, and I want to thank everyone who is part of that, because we got to make that money really, really help us what we're hurting for our citizens in Madera County.
Okay, any more questions for Joel? If not,
One other one real quick, Dave. United Way and self-help both really help on some of these low-income people too. And so maybe, you might engage with them. So just to see if I want to make sure we just cover all the bases. That's all.
Supervisor Wheeler, this is Jay. We have already talked with Community and Economic Development about engaging self-help also. And we just haven't gotten far enough down the list yet to talk about how we might engage the United Way.
Okay. Any questions from the public? Comments from the public? No comments? We'll bring it back to the board. What's your pleasure?
Move to approve and do what they've recommended.
Second.
Motion made in second. Supervisor Poitras had the second on it first, so let's vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Supervisors.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, I'd just like to give Joel a shout out for the work that he's done on this. He's been on a whole lot of calls, and this is one of those things that even as of yesterday, he was getting new and improved information to bring this to you.
Great, thank you.
Whoopee, whoopee, whoopee.
All right, so we have items 6C and 6D, which are going to be, public hearings are going to be open, but we're going to continue them till 7/21 due to details that need to be clarified. So I'm going to open the public hearing on item 6C. Any comment from the public on this item? Hearing none, a motion is in order to continue it till 7/21.
So move.
Motion is made.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. Let's vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
6D, same thing. I'm going to open the public hearing. We're sitting as the Public Finance Authority. Any questions from the public, comments from the public on this public hearing? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, bring it back to the board to ask for a continuation to 7/21.
Move for approval?
Motion to move it to that date. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Let's vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay, and we're sitting now as the Board of Supervisors again. Item 6E.
6E, Human Resources Department, discussion and consideration of approval to ratify the side letters of agreement with the clerical communications dispatcher, correctional officer, deputy probation officer, mid-management, peace officer management, peace officer, postgraduate licensed professional, probation administrators, probation management, professional service, and technical units.
Any questions from the public? Questions from the board? Motion.
Dave, I just wanted to, it says 12 units, and I just want everybody to know that 2 of the units partnered up to make that 13th unit. So all 13 units are doing that, and I just want to give them a big shout out and thank you for coming to this agreements.
Okay. I'll hear a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion
Second?
made.
Second?
Motion made and second. Let's vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Big thank you to Elba and Susan for their hard work. Thank you. 6F.
6F, Office of Development Services, Public Works Department, and Community and Economic Development Department, Engineering Services Division. Introduction of an ordinance amending Section 2.93.010 of Chapter 2.93 Madera County Code relating to delegation of authority to acquire interest in real property. Waive the first reading and set the second reading for July 21st, 2020.
Jared?
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Jared Carter, Madera County Public Works. This item is for first reading of the ordinance amendment for Chapter 2.93010. There are some modifications we're making primarily to the titles of the positions that were authorized under that. And I did want to make a note that we do want to make one additional revision to that and add the title of road commissioner to that section. Additionally, a correction on the board letter, it did say, I believe it mentions removing the 5-year term. That should be resetting the 5-year term for an additional 5 years.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions from the public?
I got a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I seen that removing it, and I didn't care if we removed it. I just wanted to make sure that we put in, that's item G on that, by the way, that we added that market cost inflation, every 2 to 5 years, because I don't want to get us behind on that or anything else we do. So I just want to make sure that is in there if we was going to remove it, but I see it's just renewing it. So, but I want to make sure, and if 5 years is too long, if the cost inflation changes, maybe we ought to look at it a little bit sooner and add that to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can do that. We'll keep an eye on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll hear a motion in order to waive the first reading and set the second.
Move to waive the first reading and set the second reading for July the 21st, 2020.
Second. Motion is made and second.
Excuse me, sorry. With the revision to add the road commissioner
Yes.
to that section.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, with that addition.
Okay. Let's vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez? Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
6G.
6G, Office of Development Services, Public Works Department, and Community and Economic Development Department, Engineering Services Division, Presentation on Senate Bill 743 and vehicle miles traveled evaluation requirements by county staff and consultants.
Good morning again, Chairman, members of the board, Jared with Public Works. We have Matt Trieber, our Chief of Development Services, also our consultant Bob Delp with Benchmark Resources, and then I believe online we should have Eric Rohr from BRPA participating remotely in this presentation. SB 743 is something that was discussed last month on June 9th. It was brought to your board, a resolution to delay implementation of that. And this workshop is going to go into a little more detail about SB 743 and how it relates to the CEQA evaluations, and also some of the efforts that we're taking to update our traffic impact study guidelines for use in evaluating the developments that occur in our county. So with that, I will turn it over to Bob Delp to begin the presentation.
Okay.
Yep. Hold on a second. All right, there you go.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. I'm Bob Delp with Benchmark Resources. We're a consulting firm, as Jared mentioned, retained by the county to help with developing guidelines for implementation of SB 743 for the county. I want to take a few minutes to talk about generally CEQA requirements and some background, and then we'll turn things over to Eric Rohr on the phone to talk about more detail in the specifics of the guidelines that we're working on. I think the board knows that the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA as we call it, requires public agencies to identify the impacts of their proposed projects and to mitigate significant environmental effects of those projects. CEQA is defined by statute, the law essentially, that's adopted by the state legislature, and then also by guidelines that are developed by the Office of Planning and Research and adopted by the state. And then also case law dictates a lot of what needs to be done under CEQA as certain projects get sued and the courts define more clearly what the CEQA requirements are. There are various types of CEQA documents that can be adopted or used for project processing, from exemptions, which a lot of projects fall under various types of exemptions and don't need to go through a rigorous environmental review. There are negative declarations that can be processed where a public agency prepares an initial study and looks generally at the impacts and determines that a project wouldn't have significant impacts, and therefore a negative declaration or a mitigated negative declaration can be approved. And then there are larger projects or projects with more significant environmental issues, and those require environmental impact reports, which is an environmental impact report, as you know, is a more lengthy process and more expensive process to go through the environmental review for. Traditionally, CEQA traffic impact analysis has focused on congestion and levels of service. Essentially, a project that would contribute additional trips within an area would be viewed as having the potential to cause impacts, environmental impacts associated with increased delays at intersections and on roadways. Mitigation, therefore, to address those impacts would essentially consist of providing road improvements or funding toward road improvements that would accommodate the increased traffic and reduce the predicted congestion. And similarly, traditionally, transportation planning has looked at ways to manage predicted increases in traffic. So whether that's through regional transportation plans that identified road improvements that are necessary, capital improvement programs and fee programs that also serve to provide increased capacity to address predicted congestion. In 2013, however, the state legislature approved Senate Bill, what we call SB 743, that established that automobile delay and congestion no longer be considered a significant impact on the environment under CEQA, sort of turning things on its head. The key goals of Senate Bill SB 743 were to encourage housing development and infill and support more urban development and reduce and discourage suburban sprawl and rural sprawl, to facilitate transit projects and bike and pedestrian transportation and infrastructure projects. And a key goal is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from vehicle travel. The focus is really now on addressing the impacts of driving as opposed to addressing the impacts on drivers by addressing congestion. So to implement SB 743, the statute required the Governor's Office of Planning and Research to develop amendments to the CEQA guidelines. That process took about 5 years, and in late December 2018, the Office of Planning and Research published, and guideline amendments were approved by the state, which require now that CEQA analysis of a project evaluate the vehicle miles traveled, essentially is what the requirement is. Look at a different metric than congestion and consider how many trips and the distance that those trips would travel to look at impacts of a project. While that was the guideline amendments were adopted in December of 2018, the implementation of those was allowed to be phased in by public agencies, but as of July 1st of this year, all agencies are required to comply with the new guidelines. So as of July 1st, now all of Madera County's projects that are subject to CEQA review are also subject to the requirements to look at vehicle miles traveled. The county still has substantial discretion in terms of how the county wants to look at those and characterize those impacts, yet still needs to comply with the requirements of CEQA and the guidelines. We've looked at that, and we've talked to staff about what options and approach would make sense for the county. And one of the things that we agreed was important was to develop some standardized guidance so that county staff, your consultants, and project developers understand what type of analysis would be done and what the thresholds for considering impacts associated with transportation and vehicle miles traveled would be, and also to just give the general public a sense for what you'll be looking at when you're reviewing proposed projects. So with that, I would like to turn things over to Eric Rohr and let him talk in more detail about the specific development of the guidelines that we're considering for Madera County. Eric, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Good morning, board members. My name is Eric Rohr. I'm a transportation engineer with BRPA Technologies, and I will be talking about preparation of transportation impact study guidelines for Madera County to implement the SB 743 legislation that Bob just described. And Bob, just so you know, I'm not able to see the slides on my screen, so I will be talking about the titles of the slide just so that we're coordinated.
Okay.
And as I go through this for the board members and everyone, I'm going to be talking about some of the guidance. We're just in the beginning of our process, so I'm going to be talking about some of the guidance that the state provides for implementing SB 743. And I'll be mentioning a few ways that we might consider tailoring SB 743 for Madera County. So let's go to the next slide. And this talks about just an overview of what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be mentioning project screening so that we can define which projects require a VMT analysis and which do not. I'll be talking about VMT analysis methodologies so that we can define ways to determine how much VMT projects generate. I'll be talking about VMT impact significance thresholds, or how much VMT a project can generate before it causes a CEQA significant impact. And then for projects that do have impacts, I'll be discussing mitigation requirements and recommendations. And as previously stated, tailoring all of this to match conditions in Madera County.
Hey, Eric, this is Matt Trieber. I apologize to cut you off there, but we do have a bit of a timing issue, just so you're aware, and trying to wrap up kind of a brief overview. This will be one of a couple presentations that the board will see on this within about 5 minutes, I think we're looking at here. So just a heads up to you.
So you want me to complete in 5 minutes then?
Correct.
Okay, I can do that. All right, let's go to the next slide. This talks about the regional model, and travel demand models are useful in analyzing VMT. We're working with the Madera County Transportation Commission, or MCTC, and we're updating the model so that it can be used for VMT analyses. And we can go to the next slide. Just to give you an idea of, this is project screening, and just give you an idea of some of the projects that would not require a VMT analysis. Small projects, and the state says 110 daily trips is a small project. We're going to be looking at whether that number is correct for Madera County. Some of the other projects, local serving retail and local serving public facilities are considered to reduce VMT, so they would not require a VMT analysis. And then there are a few other projects that I'll skip for now. We can go to the next slide on VMT analysis methods, and the model will provide maps. Will provide maps and tables based on the models that can be easily used to analyze VMT, and larger projects may have to run the model. We can go to the next slide. In terms of VMT significance thresholds, I'm not going to go through this one in detail, but basically we have some state guidance on how to do this, and we're going to be taking a close look at that because the state guidance may not apply to Madera County. We may be doing a few things different in terms of VMT significance thresholds. We can go to the next slide. VMT mitigation, when you do have too much VMT, the recommended approach is any kind of facility that will encourage other modes of travel, pedestrian, bicycle, transit, and ride sharing, transit passes, so on and so forth. A lot of this is not meant for rural areas, so we're going to be looking at how we can define a mitigation program that fits Madera County. We can go to the next slide. And this is my last slide. I wanted to mention that Bob discussed this, but level service analyses can still be conducted, but they just won't be part of CEQA. So we're going to be providing formal transportation impact study guidelines to analyze traffic congestion, level service, and so on that will be conducted for projects outside of the CEQA analysis. So that concludes my presentation, and I'll be available for any questions.
Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. In regards to VMT, I understand the whole idea is to reduce traffic on the roads because of the carbon footprint created by internal combustion engines, but we all know that engines are becoming more and more efficient, emitting less carbon. We've got hybrid cars. We're going to be going more to electric cars to the point where one day, there won't be any internal combustion engines. There'll all be electric cars. Does this analysis take that into consideration, that it's not going to be that many years in the future that we're not going to be looking at the impacts that internal combustions engines create on the environment? And I know this is kind of a big picture, 30,000 foot, 743 deal, but I mean, that's the case. And so really vehicle miles traveled is not going to be the issue it might be today, or would have been back in 2013.
This is Matt Trieber, Planning Director, and I'll take a kind of the first crack at that, and Bob and Eric can certainly fill in the blanks where appropriate. Excellent point, Supervisor, and really this is another instance where, we have the state that came down and put in a all-inclusive solution for every part of the state that just doesn't make sense in a lot of those. And that's where we brought in Eric and Bob to try to assist the public in the county to look at ways that we can see VMT. It's going to be, in my opinion, an ever-changing and evolving scenario, right? The state says 110 daily trips. Probably one of the most important slides, if not the most important slide in the presentation, is about the project screening and the requirements for no VMT analysis. And that's really been my direction I provided to Bob and Eric and staff, is to look at what makes sense within Madera County on a project that generates a certain amount of trip and volume. I'm not so concerned about our large master plan communities and development projects. Not only are they capturing a large number of their trips with their regional commercial centers and the county's general plan requirements for job housing balance, right, that we capture a lot of those trips, but those projects are doing an environmental impact report, which allows the county greater flexibility when dealing with mitigations and the impacts or the proposed or impacts of vehicle miles traveled than, say, someone just doing a small rural subdivision that struggle a little bit, right? So that's where this effort's looking at, is coming up with a county-wide solution to kind of steer where we need to be looking heavily on those things. But to your point, the 743 and the VMT, right, it doesn't speak, it may speak in the intricacies of the law to the changing regulations on their vehicles and those things, but it's really just a, hey, you got to pretend you're driving a 1975 Chevy Nova. I don't. Maybe they were around in '75.
They were in Ford Pintos. Yeah.
So that's kind of a. Hope that responds a little bit to your question on it. Today it does not. It's, hey, you got to drive a car, and that's it.
Gotcha. Very good.
Any other questions? God, thank you. This is
Thank you, Chairman.
informational. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, Bob and Eric.
Okay, item 6H.
6H, Public Health Department, discussion and consideration of approval of acceptance of donation to Madera County Department of Public Health from Calviva Health in the amount of $150,000 for COVID-19 response.
Good morning, Sarah Boss, Public Health Director. I wanted to highlight this provision of funds from our local Medi-Cal health program, Calviva, and just kind of honor what it is that they're doing in responding to COVID-19 for their membership. And so Calviva is a locally managed public health care plan under the Medi-Cal managed care program. And it provides local access, local control, and local responsive health care to Fresno, Kings, and Madera County residents. And so it's my pleasure to share with you today that they're providing $150,000 to Madera County towards the COVID response. It's appropriate that it follows the presentation by Joel this morning, as this kind of adds into that total picture. And I wanted to use this opportunity also to describe to you how we are looking at using some of the funds from Calviva in particular. In our response, as we've seen that case counts have increased significantly, we are looking at kind of how the process happens with regards to contact tracing. And currently, what it looks like in the landscape is that a person who has symptoms of COVID-19 may or may not get tested, because at this point, testing is, we have maxed out all of our resources. Every test site is 100% full, and people are looking for other opportunities for the ability to get tested. Some partners, Madera Community Hospital in particular, had maxed out their resources and really had gone past capacity for a long time, and they're pulling back on the number of tests that they're able to offer. We're looking at our mobile test site. We're able to offer 80 tests at each one of those sites at any given time, and that's staff capacity, but it's also the volume of tests that we're able to process at the lab that's available to us. that is a lab in UCSF that's currently processing our tests at no cost because we're a public health department. What we're seeing is that labs are backing up and their capacity is shrinking as well, just due to sheer volume. So when you take someone who has symptoms, who may or may not be able to get tested to find out for sure if they have COVID, even the ones that we do get the test for, depending on the lab, and again, this is all like depends on where you go, which lab is being used, the result comes back anywhere from 2, at the very shortest, 2 days, to as much as a week in terms of time frame. If the person waits to actually respond and isolate when they have a test result that's positive, then they have exposed a bunch of people in between. And so we're looking at how do we communicate with folks about, and we know we've been telling people stay at home, but you don't necessarily need a positive COVID test result to stay home. If you have any of the symptoms of COVID-19, we want you to do several things. And so what we've done is Madera County has led an effort amongst our San Joaquin Valley Public Health Consortium counties, which is 11 counties in Central California, all revolving around the San Joaquin Valley. We have some in the mountains that surround. And it's a website called Valley COVID Help. So there's the English version and there's also a Spanish version, which is ayudadelvallecovid.com. And it's very simple and straightforward information. And it tells people what to do if they have COVID symptoms. So the first is it lists the symptoms that people are familiar with what those are. We are probably very familiar with them: fever, cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, chills, shivering, sore throat, muzzle pain, headache, new loss of taste or smell. And if you have any of those symptoms, we want you to COVID, C-O-V-I-D. C, contact your job and tell them you're not going to be able to work. O, observe your symptoms and track what's going on. So if you're still having symptoms, then you need to continue to isolate. And it gives you what you need to do in terms of monitoring those symptoms in order to be cleared and be able to come out of isolation. V, visit your local public health website. So learn about what's going on in your county and what you need to do. I, isolate from others. And so there's very specific information about what isolation looks like. We're seeing that a lot of the transmission is happening within households. So we need individuals who are sick in their family to also prevent the spread to their other family members. So there's very specific instructions about how to do that. And then finally, D, determine your close contacts. So if you have been out and around, if you went to a backyard barbecue at your friend's house, or if you had lunch with a friend and you were within 6 feet for longer than 10 minutes, then we want you to contact that individual. And there's actually a script of what you can tell them. So what we're doing is we're empowering people with information to be able to go upstream and prevent the illness from spreading long before we actually get to the contact tracing that public health is doing. We are going to continue to do thorough contact tracing and follow all of those contacts as appropriate. But this is an extra tool in our toolbox. And we're going to be promoting that pretty heavily, and especially among our Latino residents and populations. And this is something, again, that is being promoted throughout 11 counties in California. So I just wanted to let you know about that and publicly thank Calviva for providing us with funding. Any questions? Yes.
Is there a cost for each individual test?
Yes.
To the person?
No, not to the person.
Who pays for it? Who pays for it?
There's a variety of ways in which it's paid for. Collecting specimens is a cost, but then also running the test at the lab is a separate cost. When you add both of those together, it's about $150 to $200, depending on a whole variety of things. For our mobile testing, we are assuming the cost in public health, and that's part of those expenses that Joel was talking about, related to collecting the specimens. But right now, we're able to send that to a lab at UCSF in San Francisco, and they're processing those for free for now through the end of August. If someone goes to OptumServe, that's a state-run test site, and the full cost is currently being absorbed by the state through that contract. Currently, that contract expires again at the end of August. So I am asking the state this week to extend that They have extended some of those OptumServe sites for others. We're actually getting to the place now where we can likely figure out how to keep our current testing resources if we can figure out how to pay for them if these contracts expire where others are offsetting the cost. But it's very unlikely we'll be able to expand to more testing at this point. We've exhausted the capacity, not just the money, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Motion to accept the grant.
So moved.
Second. Made and second. Let's vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez? Supervisor Wheeler? Supervisor Wheeler? And Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler, can you hear us?
Yeah, I
Okay.
had it, I muted it, so my
Okay.
phone rang.
Great, thank you. And Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay, 6I.
6I, Public Works Department Administration Services Division, Senate Bill 1 Project List. 1, a presentation by county staff on Senate Bill 1 Project List for fiscal year 2020 to 2021. And 2, discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution to adopt a list of projects of fiscal year 2021 funded by SB 1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017. Also want to remind the board that you were given a corrected list due to a slight typo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Treber, Chief of Development Services. I have my deputy directors here of Public Works as well as my backstop here. So I'll try to go through this quickly. This is our annual report to the board in consideration of our 2020-2021 SB1 project lists. So here you see the impacts of COVID on the SB1 funds and the road funds. Our original estimates had us at a little over $5.6 million. We anticipate that number coming in at about $5.15 million now. So we have lost about a little over 500,000 part of the COVID impacts to the SB1 dollars. This is a bit exciting. We do have the pavement management system, and I know this board has heard about that system in the public for a long time. I assure you that this system was utilized completely for the project list that you will see in this presentation in the next couple of slides. So we programmed, plugged in the $5.1 million that we anticipate, and based on the criteria that the board set for arterials and focusing on that and a PCI index of less than 30, we came up with this 2-inch hot mix asphalt overlay on these roads. And here you can kind of see just an overview of the pavement management system again about obviously a failed road and then good and very good. So our average PCI again is 25.5 in the county. And here is our road segments that we've identified for the consideration by the board. This is our District 5 area. We have some segment on Road 200, 222, and 2 leading up to 225, 274 in the Bass Lake North Fork area. Our Valley Floor road segments, we have a segment up at Avenue 18.5, Road 26 north of Avenue 21 as well. Once again, these were all based solely off of the pavement management system. Plug the numbers and the model spits out these road segments, and you see a number of segments along Avenue 7.5 and Avenue 7. There's some on 12 and the 14 area and location as well. Here is that list or the project roads in a list format for the board's consideration. So we are excited about that. And just another note for the board's consideration is these funds will be received by the county. Typically, we see them in September of the following year. So this 5.1 will come in, we anticipate September of 2021. So these road projects you see here, will occur sometime in the 21, 22 timeframe would be our goal for those. So certainly myself and staff are available for any questions the
Any
board may have.
questions for Matt?
Yeah, Chairman, I kind of a comment and then a little bit of a question, but I think it's important. I'm glad that you're highlighting that it's coming from the pavement management system. We're obviously in such a big hole that if we don't use the tools that we have available to be able to start to tackle this in a meaningful manner and taking a lot of politics out of it and just putting it where it's needed based on the tools that we voted on, I think we're only going to keep chasing our tail. So I'm glad that that's the methodology being used, because that's the methodology that we've put our money behind. Also, where are we at on previous ones of these lists? Are we getting those projects out?
That's an excellent question, Supervisor Frazier. And I do have just a few slides I'll run through that kind of addresses our previous SB1 funds. And you'll see here, 17-18, we had about 1.7 million, 18-19, 5.4, 19-20. We're estimating a reduction of about 530,000, but 4.4 million. So that's a lot of money. We've spent 856,000 of those dollars to date. So we have substantial amount of money outstanding to spend and projects to spend. So I'll just go through these. Here's a big one, Robertson Boulevard, 152 to Avenue 18 and a half.
Hey, real quick, Matt, I have no picture. It's just black. Is it me or is it somebody else?
That's true.
We're checking now, Supervisor.
I'm seeing the same, Tom.
Oh, okay.
Can you see it? Can you see it yet? Can you see it now?
Nope.
We'll make sure I will email you the presentation after the board meeting for you. So
okay.
Here's
There we
a big
go.
segment.
And I can see it.
Yeah,
If you'd send that to me, yeah, I'd like to have it, and I do have the printout that Rhonda sent us last night with all the ones that are going on for this year. So
yeah, and this was we wanted to make sure we had these available in case you guys wanted to talk on the previous one. So this is a segment from 152 to 18 and a half on Robertson Boulevard. That would be a full depth reclamation on that one. Club Drive 26 to 27. That is a major project as well with SB1 funds. Road 16, 152 to 20 Avenue 24 would be a full depth reclamation as well. Avenue 9, Road 38 to Children's Boulevard would be a full depth reclamation, full reconstruction of that road. 222 from 426 to 432 would be also a full depth reclamation. Road 400 from Adobe Ranch Drive to Road 406. And we have 426 from the 425B State Route 41 intersection down there would also be, and I do apologize to Supervisor Frazier and Supervisor Wheeler. We'll get you these printouts. And we have Avenue 18 and a half from a half mile west of Golden State all the way out to just a little past Road 16 or Road 18, I apologize. And then Avenue 12, Road 23 to Road 19, Avenue 7. So substantial amount of projects that we have outstanding still. We anticipate we're going to split these up. We anticipate that the Mountain District 5 roadways will have out to bid, Jared, I believe in September. We are shooting for those to be bid and then awarded contracts hopefully in October and going to work on all of those roadways I just described in District 5. For the Valley Floor, we're going to be a couple months behind that schedule. We don't have such a weather concern on the Valley. That's why we're going to push out and kind of split these into two bid packets. So we anticipate this work going. I know Bill Toller, my Deputy Director of Ops and Maintenance, is anxious to get these going because we're going to take all of those roads from a poor PCI rating to a substantially better, in that green section good. So these are major projects that we anticipate having done within the 9 to 12 months from where we sit today.
Good.
That's good to hear. Yeah, and we were able to see those slides, Matt. So, but still send them. I think that's good. Yeah, it's important that if people are having to pay these taxes, that they're getting a benefit from it. And I'm glad to see that you're clearing out that backlog.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just to add one more, this is really good. Thank you, guys. I wish there's some way maybe the PIT can advertise this and show what we're doing now and this is our future under that pavement management system. So, I've been getting quite a few. There's not very many people live down here. Probably not that much traffic, but the Italian Bar Road, I just keep getting. I've sent some of the emails to you from a couple of people who live down there. So I don't know. I see we're doing a lot of patching. I was around different places yesterday driving around, and I seen we're doing a lot of good patchwork and good patchwork too, not just throwing the thing down and leaving a bump. So I just wonder if we could put that on one of our schedules to get down here and check that road out, because I know we probably ain't got enough trucks to patch it all. So thank you, though.
Absolutely, and we'll add that to the list
Okay.
to check on.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question, and it's regards to arterial roads that are yet to be programmed that have a PCI under 30. How many miles do you estimate that we still have to go of arterials?
It's substantial.
Substantial.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the hundreds.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Any questions from the public?
We did have public comment. That comment was from Madeline Harrison. All those comments were emailed to the supervisors.
Okay, we received it. Thank you. All right. Any other comments? And I'll hear a motion. Pass the resolution.
Move to approve.
Second.
Made in second. Let's vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier? Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Any pending legislation?
You didn't call my name.
Supervisor, Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pending legislation.
I just wanted to make a suggestion that I think we need an ordinance or a policy to start keeping mileage on all of our vehicles, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever. I was talking to our auditor, Todd Miller, and he says that we don't really have no policy on doing that, and it's hard to believe. So I think that we need to really look into that and see what we can come up with.
Any other pending legislation? Hearing none. Supervisor staff reports. Anything?
Nothing to report.
Okay.
No report.
Report. Tom?
Yeah, I just wanted to announce that the sewer project in Oakhurst is done. They finished it last Friday, and what a job they've done. They're months ahead of their schedule, and I think they're under budget. I'm not sure yet because they're still trying to do all the other last add-ons and stuff they had to do, and then the other thing, the Red Cross board is looking for volunteers from Madera County to be on that board. It covers Fresno, Madera, and I think Mariposa. I wish we could find somebody to volunteer from Madera County, a couple of them to be on that board. I think it would help us when we're getting all the disasters, that we've had, and we're going to have a lot more in this dry seasons like this. Thank you.
Matt?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Matt Trieber, Chief of Development Services. I do have one item in consideration. We had received a request from MCTC for a letter of support for the widening of State Route 99 from Avenue 7 to Avenue 12 and the widening to 6 lanes, and sending a letter of support to Mitch Weiss, the Executive Director for the California Transportation Commission. So we have that drafted up for the chairman's signature. Just wanted to report that and make sure the board was good.
I have a question in regards to that. Why is that necessary? Because I thought that we had, were they backing off again, or what's going on with that? Because we made a lot of noise.
Yeah, this is for a grant application for the trade corridor enhancement project. So MCTC is going after a grant to get some dollars to up that. So
all right, so it's for funding for
correct.
it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we need
Rob was about to get angry again, start
I
going
know.
and causing a ruckus.
we need a motion to approve the letter.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Thumbs up.
I'm good with it. Thumbs up.
There you go.
Wait, it is on the agenda for a vote, Mr. Chairman.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. Let's vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier,
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras.
Yes.
Clerk of the board, I'm not sure I see it on the agenda that I have in front of me. Am I
Well,
missing
we've
it?
been, it's
Oh.
okay because we've been
Got
approving
it.
letters
Thumbs
by vote, so it doesn't matter.
Clarifying.
My apologies. Supervisor Poitras, yes. Supervisor Rodriguez.
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler.
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Does show Matt Trieber letter of support.
No, that was your notes. I'm sorry. It's
That's
not
just
on the
my
agenda.
notes?
Right.
Oh, okay. All right. Covered generally, I think, under, sports. Anyway, okay. I don't believe there's anything else to come for us at this time, so we'll turn this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Any more papers?